Hello everyone and welcome to Game 4 in a series between Stephano and WhiteRa. Game 4 taking place here on Tal'Darim Altar. Stephano spawning on the bottom right hand side of the map as the pink Zerg player. Meanwhile, WhiteRa spawning on the top left hand side of the map as the red Protoss. WhiteRa, if you guys didn't understand the joke, WhiteRa is perhaps one of the oldest members of the Warcraft, or not Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2 professional community. I think he's a little bit older than I am, not by much. I think somewhere in his 30s. So we'll see and how this game goes and what to expect from these two players. Currently, Stephano, I believe, has a 3-1 lead in this series, and we'll see who will be able to continue to win these games and perhaps win. I believe what I believe to be a best of 7 series. Now, best of 7 is a rather long series, so I'm interested to see how these players are gonna open up, perhaps change their strategies over time, as one player may already be getting accustomed to a specific strategy and a specific opening. WhiteRa looks like he will be going for an expansion, but I no longer can call it a Forge Fast Expand just because he normally gets a Gateway first. He's been really favoring getting those 3 early Zealots in order to try to put down some pressure. It really usually works out well if, say, the Zerg player is trying to expand to a quick third, but that will definitely not happen as we now see the probe come inside the base. It will get a sight of the creep and then figure out what is going down here. Spawning pool is already coming into play, and Stephano opening up with a different build this time around, opting to go for an extractor. Extractor and spawning pool normally means that it will be a delayed hatchery for a little while longer, and still WhiteRa opting to go for a Nexus. So a little bit risky. We'll see if it pays off as we now see the drone chasing away the probe. The probe already down to 5 shields. Once again, a nice block there. But Stephano, quick on the BH, able to set up that hatchery as we are now going into a forge and now a gateway. So a forge fast expand, Nexus first style. It looks as though WhiteRa is going to be supply blocked for a little bit of time since he did cut his probes. The probe trying to zap away at the hatchery. That hatchery not going to take any serious damage whatsoever as the probe now makes its way down here. We'll see what's going to happen next. The forge is already completed. A photon cannon could be added on the front door. There we go. It is a traditional forge fast expansion, and with that, WhiteRa should be trying to go for an assimilator soon. Now, my concern was that WhiteRa been trying to get for that triple early zealot, was unable to shoot down overlords and was really unable to gain control of the map. Zealots are a very powerful unit. They have a lot of hit points, but you cannot have just zealots up against zerglings. Those zerglings are able to easily surround those units and take them and tear them apart and just rip them to shreds. We see now the probe once again looking to come back in and get a little bit more scouting. The scouting it looks like he will be able to see perhaps not much of anything as the probe does get taken out. Stephano does already have a queen at the natural expansion. The one probe was unable to get inside the main base. He would have seen that the extractor is already down to 2400 gas, meaning that the metabolic boost was already started, if you couldn't tell by the little shimmering on that spawning pool there. Probes now just hanging around by the Xel'Naga towers. There is going to be one Zergling making its way up the ramp. However, double pylons and level 1 weapons upgrade coming in already. So WhiteRa opting to go for a level 1 weapons upgrade, and that should be able to help clear out some of the Zerglings. We may see Stephano now try to transition into roaches if he's already seen the level 1 weapons upgrade started, or perhaps go into a counter with level 1 armor upgrades of his own. Stephano, however, confined to run on 2 bases since the destructible rocks are so difficult to take down. Front door is getting that cybernetics core and chrono boosted, so warp gate tech should be coming in, and sometime around the halfway mark of the cybernetics core and warp gate tech, we may see 3 additional gateways placed down, or 2 gateways plus a robotics facility. Now, WhiteRa is playing very defensively. He does have a proxy pylon set up here, which is a prime position to warp in units onto the low ground and then move across. But no, he is going to go into a proxy double Stargate. Alright, so proxy double Stargate. The Zealot now trying to minimize the surface area, using a little bit of that stutter step, and was almost able to take down 3 Zerglings for the cost of 1 Zealot. That would have been some amazing micro. Perhaps would have been successful if the level 1 weapons upgrade was completed, and the Zealot perhaps would have actually beaten those 4 Zerglings. Now, back here, the Stargate. 2 Stargates will be up and operational momentarily, but this is all off of one base gas right now. And there's not going to be that much gas for WhiteRa to really train up that many Phoenixes, that many Void Rays, and he may end up being gas locked, and that is going to be the problem. 1 Void Ray now being trained, a 2nd Void Ray, and perhaps at 150 gas, but after that, he's only going to be able to train up about 1 Void Ray a minute. Unless he gets 2 additional assimilators here. Not quite sure why he went for double Stargate. Even if he tries to follow it up with Phoenixes, Phoenixes are even more gas intensive and they take less time to build. Zealots now coming around that far side here. There are double spine crawlers. We are going into double spire. So a double spire being established as we have a cancellation on the creep tumors here. Not quite sure why. And the double spire normally indicates that we are going to go very heavy in terms of upgrades. We now see 1 more Void Ray being added, and now 1 Void Ray or 1 Stargate unable to train up anything at all. It's only going to really help out by about 40 seconds. And this is one of those instances where WhiteRa perhaps not realizing that he needed to get these assimilators up faster for his pressure, and maybe wanting that 2nd Void Ray now. Yes, gonna go heavy into Void Rays and Zealots. The Zealots on the ground will be there to handle perhaps the Spore Crawlers and the Queens, more importantly. More Spine Crawlers being added on the front door. Those Queens are here. The Spore Crawlers are hanging around by the natural or by the mineral patch here, as the Queens and Zerglings now simply all retreat. 3 Void Rays, a 4th one, could be a 5th one coming in soon, as well as the Zealots are just wandering around here. A very dangerous strategy, as he knows, or as Stephano knows WhiteRa where exactly he is. The Zealots now making their way up the ramp, gonna come back around the far side, perhaps try to check if there is a hatchery off over here. Zerglings looking to see if there's a proxy pylon. Don't see anything but a Void Ray in the air, so now the Void Rays need to move. The surprise attack will still be coming in, and with 5 Void Rays, a 6th one on the way, and Phoenixes coming out, we'll see how Stephano reacts. No, Mutalisks are now being added. There is 1 Spore Crawler here, but the Spore Crawler may be a little bit too far away as the Void Rays run straight inside the base. Queens now making their way in, and Stephano easily handling the Void Rays here. Void Rays battling up against Mutalisks, but 3 Void Rays not enough, as the Zerglings are now going to finish off these Stargates. The Zealots look to slice through these Zerglings rather quickly. It looks like they will come out ahead. Void Rays now going up against Mutalisks. Not a fair fight at all. Those Mutalisks in such strong numbers, going to clean up all of those Void Rays here. There is only 1 Phoenix, and that 1 Phoenix has a lot of work to do if it wants to try to beat up all of these Mutalisks. There are currently 8 Mutalisks nearby. The Mutalisks are near, and now here there comes the fancy flying. Only 1 pylon. And are the Mutalisks going to be able to finish off the Stargates? Yes, at least depower them, as the Phoenixes now trying to battle it up. No level 1 weapons upgrade on the Phoenixes, but the Phoenixes just trying to do as much fancy flying as possible. The Stargates are now unpowered. No pylon nearby. There is 1 pylon up over here. Pylons, however, don't move, so the probe will have to bring the power over to these Stargates, as the Stargates are somehow still regenerating their shields. Zealots now returning back home. Zealots also destroying the destructible rocks here, as Stephano takes up his 3rd and 4th base. So Stephano, by establishing the new bases, knows that WhiteRa is not going to be able to attack anytime soon. I love this play by Stephano. Stephano moving out, taking territory when he knows he can do it easily. And now the Queens are just going to make their way over. The destructible rocks will get taken down. And now perhaps it is going to be a 5 base to 3. No Nexus being established over here just quite yet. The Phoenixes are still wandering around. The Mutalisk now looking to finish off these Stargates here. The Mutalisk simply going to be too much in number, 17 in number, and down goes the Stargate. And we are now going into the Anion Pulse crystals. Alright, so the Anion Pulse crystal is already being researched as we are now going into the Protoss Air level 1 weapons upgrade. So the Phoenixes will have a range of 6. And with that, the flying and the maneuverability on those Phoenixes are going to be so powerful that I do not believe that a lot of Zerg players have really dealt with it yet. Especially with that level 1 Protoss Air weapons upgrade. We are going into the level 2 armor upgrades already. But level 1 weapons upgrade will allow those Phoenixes to deal a lot more damage, as we now see the Zealots running down over here. Perhaps they're going to try to run in, as Stephano is using this base solely for gas. Level 1 air weapons upgrade about to be done. Level 2 could get started right away, as we do have a fleet beacon. And Phoenixes are still being added to this group. Mutalisk now looking to come in over here. And now in come the Phoenixes. The Phoenixes are going to deal so much damage. The Phoenixes with the superior range. And now all of those Mutalisks are just going to get taken down. The Mutalisks have to be very careful, as the Mutalisks are trying to fight against those Phoenixes. But the Phoenixes have such a strong range here that WhiteRa and Stephano just trying to do a little bit of a dance, and the dance of WhiteRa simply beautiful at this stage, as you can see that the Mutalisks aren't really dealing any damage whatsoever. That additional +2 range really going to town, really working on Stephano's units, and Stephano cannot run. Phoenixes move faster and will win out in the war every time. Photon cannons even joining in on the fight, and that is going to make things very difficult. Stephano losing his entire Phoenix army, and now needs to transition into something else. 78 drones versus 62, 14 more drones now being trained. We are now going into level 3 weapons upgrade. So we are at Hive Tech. Greater Spire has not been started since both of them are getting air upgrades. And now we are going into carriers. So carriers being added. Zerglings getting picked up by these Phoenixes since they pretty much have energy to spare. The Phoenixes have level 1 weapons upgrade. A mothership now being added once more. And now massive spine crawlers coming in again. Zealots, probes now wandering back. WhiteRa sitting on 10 Zealots and 10 Phoenixes. That is it. Meanwhile, Stephano, not much better. 82 drones, 1 Mutalisk, and 4 Queens. So both armies are really small. Stephano now down to only an 800 resource army. Meanwhile, WhiteRa has a large army, but the majority of it is in air that cannot attack ground. Stephano now looking to expand over here into this position after this one base was taken out by Zealots. The Zealots are now moving into this base down over here. That's way too many spine crawlers, especially without charge. They are not able to get in on those targets. Zealots need to perhaps try to do a bit of surrounding. Unable to do so. The spore crawlers are getting in the way. And meanwhile, fighting over here, Phoenix is going up against Mutalisk. There was a fungal growth, and the fungal growth really causing the problems. The Phoenixes losing their high mobility, but WhiteRa bringing home field advantage with Zealots, as the Zealots are now making their way in. Infested Terrans now coming in over here. Infestors pretty much out of energy already, but they do not want to engage. Zealots are cleaning up the expansion down over here, as more Zealots warping in to clean up the 3 o'clock expansion. And WhiteRa looks like he is in control in this game, as he now takes the 11 o'clock low ground expansion and should be transferring some probes over there shortly. We are now going into a mothership, 2 additional carriers being added, and carriers are going to be very effective, as the mothership has now arrived and now backing away from the rest of the group. You can see the fleet beacon is getting that graviton catapult. Zealots finishing off the extractor down over here. It looks like the Phoenixes are going to finish off the rest of the Zealots. Oh, sorry, the Mutalisks are going to finish off the rest of the Zealots. Not exactly sure why WhiteRa decided to not engage with his Phoenixes any longer. His Phoenixes have all been destroyed, so that's the reason why. 8 interceptors. We are now getting 2 additional Stargates. So WhiteRa going very heavy on mass carriers at this point. We are going to be getting up 4 carriers at a time. with level 2 weapons upgrade. Zerglings now looking to swarm in over here, but photon cannons making quick work of all of those Zerglings. Probes now trying to sneak in, but is it going to be successful? No, the Zerglings do clump up into a little bit of a ball, but still get destroyed here. One Zergling at a time trying to come back in. Not going to work as a Zealot now joins in on the fight. 2 more Stargates have been completed. Perhaps we will now be getting more and more carriers as well. Only I'm training up 2 Phoenixes at this time. The other 2 Stargates not doing much of anything. And we'll see what the transition and what the strategy will be. More Zealots being warped in along the top side here, trying to clean up expansion after expansion. Stephano also moving some extractors over. Stephano looking to just try to take control of the entire map. The only way that WhiteRa can really win this is if Stephano keeps on training up Mutalisks. The Mutalisks are not going to be strong enough to really deal with those carriers and deal with the Phoenixes that are still in the air now. Mutalisks now looking to make their way in. The 3-3 Mutalisks are coming in, and in come some Phoenixes. The Phoenixes now trying to play a very dangerous game, trying to hug along the far side of those units, but in comes a fungal growth, beautifully played by the Infestors, as the Infestor is able to get a fungal growth off on those units. Phoenix is now making their way over. Archon now getting trapped by the Zealots as the fungal growth does come in. Carriers, High Templars, feedback, none on any of the Infestors down over here as the carriers now arrive. Carriers dealing a lot of damage. Fungal growth could come in, but even if the infested Terrans try to come down, Infestors are getting destroyed. The mothership taking a lot of damage, now needs to back off. The carriers looking to deal as much damage as possible as the carriers are now revealed. The Mutalisks come in with 3-3 upgrades, and because the Interceptors only have level 1 weapons upgrade, the damage is significantly reduced. Another carrier goes down, and WhiteRa may end up having to say GG here, as Stephano now with 3-3 Mutalisks owning the skies and still training up 7 Mutalisks at a time. Phoenix is still battling it out, trying to go up against these Mutalisks. The Mutalisks are just still dancing back and forth, and it looks as though the Mutalisks will beat up on all of those Phoenixes, and the Phoenixes trying to do a little bit of a dance. Has to be careful though with Infestors nearby, more Phoenixes engaging, but now that the Mutalisks have reached their way to the Stargates and made it way over here, there is the GG. Well played. So WhiteRa losing the game here on Tal'Darim Altar. I still believe I have one more game for me to cast. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed what I believe to be game 5 in the series. I believe Stephano was up 4-1, but then again, I am casting this over time, giving myself a little bit of a break, and I may have just completely misremembered. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.